Cheers, everyone. Dave Brown here with the New Populist. Thank you again for joining me. So, I want to talk about Ron DeSantis because, of course, he did drop out of the presidential race on Sunday and endorsed Donald Trump and not Nikki Haley, and that is very important. And, as a Trump supporter, I'm not a DeSantis hater. I do like the guy. I think he's a good governor down in Florida. But when he jumped into the race, I was perplexed as to what he thought he could accomplish because it seemed obvious to me that he could not win the nomination. So back in July 2023, I wrote a Substack article trying to assess what his thinking was, what his plan was. And I said there were three paths or scenarios or angles that he might be playing as far as going after the nomination. And looking back at that article, I was ballpark. As it turned out, he did follow one of my paths. Nikki Haley followed the other, and Vivek the third one. So I was, again, in the ballpark. So I want to read the article now because I think it's prescient. And the article is titled, "What is DeSantis Thinking?" A man on a mission is a formidable adversary. And a man on a mission who believes himself to be the victim of persecution and betrayal is even more dangerous. So, with state and federal charges filed against him, Donald Trump's motivation to get back in the Oval Office cannot be overstated. For this reason, people have debated the wisdom of popular Florida Governor Ron DeSantis entering the 2024 presidential race. At only 44 years old and with a state to run, what was the hurry? Why not wait until 2028 and avoid going head to head with the whirlwind force that is Donald Trump? What exactly was the calculation DeSantis made that convinced him he could win the nomination? There are three possible paths. One is cynical, one is sensible, and one is dead on arrival. The cynical path is one where the deep state does the dirty work for him. The legal war being waged against Trump is uncharted territory for our young republic, and whether or not he will be able to stay in the race is uncertain. With potential charges looming over him in Georgia, that would make for a third indictment. And of course, we know there will be a fourth. There was no indication this will discourage him from dropping out of the race, and if anything, will harden his resolve. But some have suggested that if the probability of jail time increases, a deal might be cut to keep him out of prison in exchange for leaving the race. Certainly, DeSantis is aware of this possibility. But the question is, did someone whisper in his ear? Was he given certain assurances that if he entered the race, eventually Trump would be taken out? And this would open up a clear path to the nomination. Or maybe he had a suspicion and took the gamble that this might happen. Not the most noble way to get on top, but this is politics at the national level, where stakes are the highest, and even good men will make compromises in their integrity for the opportunity to attain more power. This would be understandable and not much of a crime, but a worse scenario is that he is conspiring with the deep state and knows exactly what effort is being made to deal with the Trump problem and what prize he will get if the deep state wins. If this is the case, he would be tainted goods, and we may as well elect Jeb Bush, Mitt Romney, or any other stiff jammed into the establishment Republican clown car. That is the cynical path. I don't think he took that path. I think that is Nikki Haley. A more sensible path would be for Ron DeSantis to convince the Trump base that he is as good a choice as Trump, but without the baggage and with more political acumen. That was the general feeling around him during the pandemic, and this was affirmed by his landslide re-election. But how does one run against a former president who has a fiercely loyal base and a much stronger connection to the public? To quote a line from Roadhouse, be nice. Woo the voters. Be complimentary to Trump. Thank him for his support and endorsement. Highlight the good things he has accomplished and say that while he's a man he respects and admires, he, Ron DeSantis, has a better shot at beating Biden in 2024. If Trump then responds with more of his scathing attacks, it would only bolster his argument that it is time for a change and that the scorched earth tactics that worked in 2016 are out of date and counterproductive. Trump supporters would be open to that argument. Trump is divisive and polarizing, and perhaps a fresh face with a better temperament is needed. It would be an uphill battle, but it just might work. And if it didn't, it wouldn't spoil him with the voters in 2028. Certainly, that strategy would be preferable to the third path, which would be to go toe-to-toe with Trump. Now, it turns out somebody did take that path, and that is Vivek Ramaswamy. He was very complimentary to Trump. Right there at the end before Iowa, there was a little something, but it was quickly forgotten, and he endorsed Trump and joined Trump at his rally in New Hampshire. And Trump said that Vivek has a future with Trump, and they'll be working together for a very long time. That is the path that I think DeSantis should have taken, but he didn't. He did instead try to go toe-to-toe with Trump. And here's what I said about that. Unfortunately, this is the path it seems that DeSantis is wandering down. And rolling around in the mud with Trump, it will only be DeSantis who emerges covered in filth. Trump's charm, it seems, is the ability to play dirty, but never have anything stick to him. His campaign is stale, boring, and uninspiring. And one of his Twitter accounts recently retweeted a nasty anti-LGBTQ plus video that even had conservative Republicans wincing. He is now almost 40 points behind Trump in the polls, and there is some grumbling from the likes of Rupert Murdoch and Fox News that perhaps DeSantis doesn't have the right stuff to win the nomination. His more steadfast supporters, however, are still committed and are convinced that he is the only Republican who can beat Biden in 24, and that nominating Trump would be a guaranteed loss. In fact, that seems to be their only argument. What does it say about a candidate that you point out his opponent's flaws rather than highlight his strengths? And even that argument is losing steam. How can anyone say with certainty that the image the general public has of DeSantis won't change under the scrutiny of a general election campaign? It is true that he is currently performing better than Trump against Biden in some battleground state polls, but that is subject to change, big change, especially if his current campaign were any indicator. So that brings us back to the question, what was DeSantis thinking when he entered the race, and what was the plan? As it stands now, it is not yet clear, but all indications are it wasn't well thought out. So that was the path that DeSantis took. He went head-to-head with Trump, and as time went on, it just got worse and worse for him, and he bowed out after the Iowa caucuses and endorsed Trump. So, like I said, Nikki Haley is the deep state candidate, and it's a good thing that DeSantis, it seems, wasn't that guy. It seems that he was, he entered the race thinking legitimately that he would just be able to beat Trump without the help of the deep state. He was wrong. He got really, really bad advice. His advisors around him, perhaps even his wife, even though I'm sure she's a very nice lady, they gave him bad advice. And it did hurt him a lot. It hurt him with the Trump supporters. It hurt his chances to potentially be the VP for Trump because At this point, I don't know if Trump would consider picking him. I take that back. I do think Trump would consider picking him, but I don't know if DeSantis would have the stomach to join him now after this long race where he was kicked around by Donald Trump. And it's unfortunate, this whole campaign, because again, it hurt him for his VP chance, and it also hurt him for 2028 because we've all seen him now. He is not a good campaigner. He's not charismatic, and he's a bit awkward. So at the state level, he was fine. He did good. He was great. But state politics are not national politics, and now he's been exposed. He's not that magnetic force that Trump is. It's not even close. Now, 2028 is a long way off. People do forget. So perhaps there's a chance in 3 years people will forget this terrible campaign, and they will be open to voting for him, or voting for him again in 2028 if he were to run. And that would be a good thing, because looking at the Republican field right now, besides Trump, and projecting forward 4 years, who else do we have to run? Nikki Haley, Chris Christie, Kristi Noem. There's not a lot out there. So it's really annoying that DeSantis hurt himself, because we do need somebody like him to run in 2028. But tonight is the New Hampshire primary. Donald Trump is favored to win, and hopefully he does crush neocon Nikki Haley, because we do not want her hanging around and giving the establishment any ideas that she has a chance to win, because that will just complicate things, make them messy. And of course, we want to coalesce as quickly as we can around Donald Trump so we can face off against Biden and get that whole ball rolling. So hopefully tonight we crush her. And I think we will, if all things are done fairly. Well, that's it for now. If you are new to my channel, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.